Next, where I'd like to go to tonight, which you're going to get asked a lot, and if you've ever gone to any other forums than the one that I've got, the Tropical Vedic Astrology Forum, everyone's always asking about Ketu and Rahu, and will this dasha be good, and this astrologer said it was going to be terrible, and it goes on and on. It's really frustrating. But if you know what to look for, you can determine whether Ketu and Rahu are going to work well. So first of all, before we get into Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra, I believe it's book 2 here, the thing you always need to remember, which we've talked about many times before, is that Rahu and Ketu act like their lord, meaning that if Rahu's lord is exalted, he's going to act like Rahu's exalted lord, which will be good. If it's debilitated, then he's going to act bad. Look at the dignity of Rahu and Ketu's lord, and that will give you a pretty clear indication of whether these nodes are going to work well or not, whether they're going to be uplifting or frustrating, whether they're going to be liberating or binding. And if it's in the middle, well, it's going to be mixed, and we have to look at other things to see how it's going to play out. Any planets that are with Rahu and Ketu, Rahu and Ketu will also act like them, and when I say with, I mean conjunct, in the same house. So it's either their lord or it's the planets in the same house. Now, why is this the case? Because remember, we talked earlier, Rahu and Ketu are not embodied planets. They are like ghosts. They are like possessors, which means that they act like, they possess, to a degree, the planets that they are associated with. So they act through the body of the planets that they are with, or the planets that they are lorded by. This is why that principle works. Now, once you know that, with Rahu and Ketu dashas, those take a lot of work to figure out. Not just because it's Rahu and Ketu. You know, people can always fall back on it's Rahu and Ketu, they're just confusing, they don't make any sense. Well, they do make sense because they follow certain principles. It's just that most people don't go through the things that you need to do to figure them out. And what are those things? Well, you look at the Rashi chart. You figure out in general how's Rahu and Ketu going to work by their lords or by their association. Now what? You've got a good general idea there. You could probably stop there and you'd get by. However, if you want to be more specific, now what you have to do is you have to go through every single Varga, and you have to look at every single Varga, and you have to say, what is Rahu and Ketu's lord in the second Varga, in the third Varga, in the ninth Varga, and what planets are with Rahu and Ketu? And so what we see here is that the reason Rahu and Ketu's dashas are so confusing isn't because they're following different principles, it's because they take a lot more steps to figure out. Now you have to apply the same thing to the other planets as well, but with Rahu and Ketu there are more variables to understand there, because it's not just Rahu and Ketu, it's also the Lord of Rahu and Ketu, and what is the dignity of the Lord in Rahu and Ketu. So it just gets a little more involved. So it's not harder, it's just more involved. And so most astrologers just give up and say it's going to be tough because they're not going through the work to figure it out. Aside from that, we need to look at Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. And I think it's chapter 57. Yep, chapter 57. If you have that book, you can go to that chapter and you can read the results in the Mahadasha of Rahu. And it starts. It says, now you're probably going to have to either write these down or get the book out or re-listen to this recording to write them down, because there's a few of them. It says, the position of Rahu in Cancer, Scorpio or Sagittarius. This delivers felicitation from the king, clothes, vehicles, ornaments, copious profits in business, gains of animals and acquisition of clothes and vehicles during visits to the west. If Rahu is placed in an upachaya, the 3rd, 6th, 10th, or 11th from the ascendant, has conjunction or aspects of auspicious planets in the friendly Navamsha or exaltation sign, its Antardasha and also Mahadasha will bestow gain of kingdom, high degree of enthusiasm, affection of the king, auspiciousness, comforts of wife, feeling of exaltation, accretion of assets, and increment of children. So what we see here is, well, if Rahu is in Cancer, Scorpio, or Sagittarius, if it is in an Upachaya house, 3, 6, 10, or 11, and has the aspect or conjunction of auspicious planets, good planets in dignity, that is, then we get good results in the Rahu Dasha. So write that down, memorize it. When you're looking at someone's Rahu Dasha, consider it. And I would take that through the other Vargas too. Look at all the other Vargas, because let's say it's good in the birth chart, but let's say it's not so good in the 7th divisional chart, the chart for children and creativity and procreation and sexuality. If it's bad there, if it's not in the Upachaya house, if it's not in those particular signs mentioned, well, then that particular area of life might not work out. So you can make that prediction. Now, negatively, if Rahu is in the 8th or the 12th house from the ascendant, in its own Mahadasha and Antardasha, there will be undoubtedly grief from theft, injury, conflicts with the administrations of the king, destruction of co-borns or brothers, and trouble to wife and children. If Rahu's in the 2nd or the 7th house, or located in these houses, it will cause perpetual disease and extensive distress. So, again, now we see the negative aspects of Rahu. How's the Dasha going to go? If it's in the 8th or 12th house from the ascendant, or if it's in the 2nd or 7th house from the ascendant, or with the 2nd and 7th lord, well, it's difficult. There you have it. Now, it doesn't just leave you there. The Brihat Parashara Horashastra then goes on to say, but by undertaking worship in the prescribed manner, sound health and assets will be attained. Now, what is that prescribed manner? By chanting the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. So if you're familiar with the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, you can chant that, and it will help to mitigate problems with Rahu. Also, normal Rahu mantras will help with that. So if you see someone who's in a bad situation in that regard, or you're in a bad situation in that regard, bring up those mantras, chant them throughout the duration of the dasha, and you should be fine. And this brings up the idea of remedial measures. A lot of people ask me, do I do them just for a couple weeks? Do I do them for 40 days? Have you found them to work? And if you were on the forum lately, you saw my response was that I do the mantras every day, and I've done them every day, and sometimes I do many of them a day. Why? Because I know that in certain planetary periods you have to keep doing them. So it's good just to get in the habit of doing at least 2 of the planetary mantras a day to keep yourself sailing smoothly. And I learned that from one of my first astrology teachers, Richard Fish, who took the lead and when we co-wrote the book, The Art and Science of Vedic Astrology. He does the same thing. He chants the mantra for the Mahadasha he is in, and he chants the mantra for the Antardasha he is in. Has always done that, still does it.